Howdy, rock stars. I'm just going to start this Facebook Live. I don't feel ready, and I also feel very ready. I feel like this could turn into very quickly a business masterclass because I have so much information to share with you, and I'm trying to break it down. What is the best way, the most practical, easy way for you to learn and absorb the information? And so if you're tuning in, hello. So good of you for watching on a Friday night. It might actually be turning into a business training, but yay, that's cool. We're welcoming Lakshmi tonight, goddess of wealth, beauty, fertility, fortune, and power. So she's going to be with us, and I hope someone is tracking how many Facebook Lives I'm doing because I should really begin to document this process, but it has just begun an organic evolution, and I'm going with the energy. And I bet there's a few of you out there thinking, when is she going to just give up? When is she going to skip a night? When is she going to throw the towel in? And I don't think I am. I think I'm going to actually complete this beautiful evolution of 365 days live in the Facebook group. Hi, Samantha. How gorgeous, darling. Oh, I used to be in a coaching program with Sam. How are you, darling? Happy Friday night, beautiful. So good to see you. Wow, so this is going to turn into a bit of a business life story, maybe. But there are two things I'm so incredibly passionate about. One is ascension, spiritual growth, the evolution of your soul, what you're here to do, your service and your mission, what it is that you're giving to humanity. I love that work. That work means the world to me. It is it inspires every single move that I make, everything that I'm absorbed about, what I think about, what I begin to create, how I serve my clients. That is my biggest love. But closely behind that first love is my love of enterprise, my love of business. I absolutely love business, and I've been on the entrepreneurial journey for such a long time, and I think a lot longer than my audience may realize. I don't come from an entrepreneurial family. I was the first one in my family to ever have a business. I went to performing arts school. I got an ABN, and after I graduated, I went out and auditioned. And at that stage of my life, I was in my early 20s, and I would just do whatever it took to get a foot in the door, to get noticed. And you get really creative. You get really creative with ideas as to how you can find job opportunities for yourself. And so that was really where I began. I began to think outside the box. I had business cards made up, which was actors would not have business cards, but I'm like, screw this, I'm going to have a business card. My headshot was like plastered on one side of the business card, and on the other side was a spiel. It's like my number, my email, and call me, book me. And that is really how I began in the entrepreneurial journey, was actually as an actor. Getting noticed, you get pretty street smart, and you hear things before other people hear opportunities. And so I worked in film and TV for a while, and I loved it, and anything I could do to get an advantage over other people. And so for me, I had a love of Shakespeare. Every Saturday, I became the youngest member of the Australian Shakespeare Society because I thought, how many 20-year-olds out there are going to be loving Shakespeare? Not that many. And I saw that as a highest potential of growth and opportunity for me if I could know Shakespeare better than any other 20-year-old. And so every Saturday, I would attend the Australian Shakespeare Society, and we would read play after play after play after act after act after act for about 6 hours on every Saturday. I became so good that whenever there was auditions for Shakespeare plays, I was usually the youngest in the audition. And Saturday, I was hanging out with men that were in their 60s and 70s, like old retired English teachers, old drama teachers that no longer worked in the industry. So I was surrounded by incredibly talented, a rich history of mentorship, and I just absorbed it and absorbed it. So those sorts of things, I was pretty enthusiastic and eager to work out different little tactics I could use to get noticed and to get employment. When I was working in film and TV, I met a fair few people. There are a lot of departments that work behind the camera. And I quickly realized that all of business, all of entrepreneurship is relationships. It is the people you know, the clients you work with are people, the people you hire, another relationship, the people you're going to have to manage, the people that you speak to when you're on camera, the audience that you speak to when you do a social media post. Everywhere you look in your business, it is always about relationship with people. The more authentic you can be, the more vulnerable you can be to connect with a person. When I do this Facebook Live, I don't see the camera, I see the person behind the camera, as if I'm sitting down with you at the couch and I'm having a chat with you, sharing something about my day, sharing about something that I've learned on my journey. And so from there, I began to work in the special events management industry, because I met a lot of people that worked in sound, location managers, costume designers, people that worked in audio visual, they worked in set design. And I began then freelancing across many different events, different industries, ranging from music festivals, really creative events and festivals, to really dry, boring government delegations with the Governor General, the Prime Minister, like luncheons, galas. What else did I do? But in that, I began to work with a lot of other people. And those events got bigger and bigger. So that is really in a bigger scale capacity. That's when I had to really learn and grow and stretch. And I'd be managing or working with hundreds of people. The budgets would also be a lot larger. So this was just a different game of playing at. The timelines were tighter. I'd say the risk and responsibility was a lot higher. And there were just a lot of moving parts to when you work in the special events industry. So I learnt a ton. And there's no real special formula to that industry other than, again, relationship building, and that every single thing is solvable. Because in the events industry, you get thrown every single roadblock that you can imagine. The main speaker is sick and cannot turn up. The flight has been delayed and your main talent is now not here. The venue have done this on you. Registration tickets have all been printed wrong with the wrong barcodes. The list goes on. And so you have contingency plans A all the way to contingency plan Z. There's no, like I said, there's no magic trick to that. It is just having a real positive attitude and believing that absolutely every single thing is solvable. From there, I took a bit of a break, but I ran that special events company on and off. Like, it was freelance work, so you'd work pretty hard on certain projects, and then I might take like a month or two off, and then you'd go again, depending on who you kind of heard where a next gig or a next opportunity was to work. But all up, it was 10 years, close to 10 years that I was in that field, and I worked in Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, and even did an event over in LA. So it's a very exciting industry. After that, I just did a few other things in life. I traveled, I met Ben, my partner. We did a bit of traveling around Australia. And after that, I was really looking for my next thing. Now, you have to understand that my spiritual development was happening the whole time. At the end of the events work, that's when I really started strongly feeling Atlantis and Lemuria. So that side of me was always there. It just was in the background from my career or from my work life. After the traveling that I mentioned, I was looking for my next thing, I suppose. And I didn't have a huge amount of direction. I knew I didn't want to go back into events. I didn't feel there was an inkling that I could have done something around the spiritual side. I just didn't feel confident enough. I just didn't feel like it was time. And I had a very strong initiation then further into business. And so what ended up happening is I bought a restaurant in Melbourne, and it was a failing business. And so now I've done a bricks and mortar. It was a bricks and mortar business. Completely different business model to the previous two that I'd been working in. And it's there where I got such a strong, just gritty initiation to business and people, and really learning a thick skin, really learning a thing or two. And I'd realized that other work I'd been doing, how I was always in my comfort zone. I was very good at negotiating with people and getting what I wanted. And that is good for as long as it works. And I hadn't had such a gritty training yet in business. And so the restaurant definitely represented that for me, of where I really strengthened as a leader because of how hard it was. I had to really understand people. So in the restaurant, I had a team of 10 full-time staff, plus other part-timers and casuals. And the business here is where I learned everything. There is every aspect of that business. I knew it inside and out. I knew every order. I knew every customer's name, everything that happened behind the barista bar, front of house, like even how the napkins needed to be folded on the cutlery. Like, it didn't matter what level of that business I needed to manage. I personally had done every single task myself. And I think that's a really incredible gift to get as a leader, or if you're a business owner, is that you've got to humble yourself to be a great leader, I believe. And that there is never any job that I personally wouldn't step into. I cleaned the toilets of that restaurant just as I was expecting my staff members to do the same. So I never expected a staff member to do something that I wasn't prepared to do. And I absolutely have carried that into the company that I run now. And I'm so grateful for that training in those restaurant years. It was so incredibly hard, yet I'm also really, really grateful because it made me the business owner that I am today. It made me stand in my divine flame of power. It's like I got backed into the corner that much that I had no other choice to find my power. I had such a hard time. It broke me down so much that I eventually got to the realization of not caring about what other people thought of me. Restaurants, they're very quick to review you. and say amazing things about you one day and then completely discredit you the next day. And in the town of Melbourne, news spreads very fast when you're working in the food and coffee industry, that's for sure. So I just really had to learn. And one of the beautiful, most incredible things, I didn't realize how passionate I was about this aspect of business. But one of the things I really realized I was so passionate about, and I found it a deep privilege of mine as a business owner, was the employing of people. I took it really to heart, and I wanted the best of the best. And I looked at the whole person. I looked at their interests, their health, their hobbies. Excuse me, I just need to... I've still got a tickle in my throat. But I didn't realize what an honor that was to hire people, and how those people then relied on me for their income. One of the ladies was able to get engaged and got married, and she was able to pay for her wedding because I was able to offer her employment. For me, it's like one of the best feelings in the world. Another woman was able to buy her first property, and it's like I was on the loan application. I was her employer. And she got her first property in Melbourne, and it was just huge. We were all celebrating. We all had cheers kind of after the close of the business on one of the afternoons. And I just found those highlights such a deep honor. And it sparked something in me which I carried forward. Was my love of supporting women in business. I love giving opportunities to women. I love telling them that anything is possible, that your dreams do matter, and you can bring anything to the table to me, and I'm like your biggest cheer squad. And I think I got that from acting days. It's just like the crazier and the more creative the idea is or the venture is, it's like the more I'm going to back you, because it's just like this world is so desperate of creativity and new ways. And it's just so sad because beauty and art and creativity just get knocked out of people. And it's like we're in this one linear path, and like they've stripped all the beauty out of the agriculture industry. It's like, no, you just grow one crop. It's like a monocrop, and there's your agriculture industry. I'm like, where's the creativity? Where's the color? Where's the biodiversity? We need biodiversity. It's meant to be a little bit of this and a little bit of that. It's meant to be. This is why our DNA is mixing now, because there's a cosmic call for biodiversity in the region of this galaxy. Don't you get it? And I'm like, come on, ladies. So this has all led me to where I am today. I eventually got the courage. I've eventually sold the business. I tripled my money. I promised, like, I mean, 2 best workers. I looked after them so well. And one of them, oh, beautiful Nicola. I love her so much. But I promised her, I said to her, you motivate me, Nicola. I absolutely loved hiring you. I loved working with you. You mean the world to me. And all I want to do now is find a new business model, because I just simply want to hire you. I want to hire you. It's like I want to give you this gift and this opportunity again. So it's a very, I really see that as a privilege. And I really encourage more business owners to really feel into the energetics of what you are doing when you say you need to hire someone. Because I bet most of the time you're thinking about the money, what you can get for the cheapest labor. And it just is, there's just a whole other beauty to the game. And there's just such a gift. But I'm also cautious for women that they don't go into the best friend zone. And now you're like, you got your bestie that you've hired and you don't understand your flame of personal power. You don't understand your boundaries because you're too scared to execute on them. And this is something the leading ladies of light who are interested in business, you need to cultivate this. You need to develop it because we all need really clear boundaries from time to time. It's actually called being a good parent and creating that safety and that framework, because it makes the vision of the dream, it makes the vision of the business so crystal clear. And people know where they stand then, and they become easier to communicate with if we all know where we stand on certain issues. So eventually I sold the restaurant, hallelujah! I tripled my money. I had the best ride. It was like the phoenix rising from the ashes. And then I was like, holy moly, I really don't know what to do next, because that was intense. And eventually I was like, you know what? You can make all the excuses you want, Myra, but at some point you're going to have to bring your two greatest loves into unification. And it's so interesting because that's the very thing I teach. It's like, how do we merge pillar number 1 with pillar number 2? And then there's this incredible gift when they marry one another. And essentially that is the lesson, the embodiment I had to reach, is how I was able to bring and marry my love of ascension with my love of enterprise. And here we are now in the Golden Path experience. It is that is the energetic container that you are sitting in. It's the energetic field that I teach from. And so I began to work in higher and higher realms. And I began seeing different architecture, different strategies to business, because I was able to use such incredible higher realm spiritual aspects and 5D thinking, which many others were not doing at the time. So it became an incredible ride. I absolutely love my business model. Absolutely love it. I strongly recommend it. I have only good things to say about it. I know where my profit margins are. Many women in business don't know their numbers. You have to know your numbers. It doesn't have to be overwhelming, just in really kind of simple categories. You have to know your numbers up to a certain point, and then the numbers start getting sexier and sexier when you know how to kind of tweak the dial on the different areas that you want to enhance. And I can say if you're running a restaurant, your profit margins are very low. It's like you're kicking goals if it's at 33%. This business model is entirely different. I had a client last year or the year before, but she was running a business that I do remember because I saw the business rise and expand and become very popular, and it had a global presence, and she ended up selling the business for 13 million. And so I asked her on her business growth, like, what were the stages that you loved? Like, where is that sweet spot for you? And you got to understand too, when someone puts numbers out like that, it doesn't mean they're making that money. Again, this is why you've got to know the numbers, because I'm not saying all cases, but to get to that level, you're in like high debt. There's a certain level of debt they're borrowing other people's money and they're leveraging off other assets to get that rate of expansion to hit those certain numbers. Is it a business model that I want to do? No. Is it what I've done for this company? No. So this company is built on zero debt. Zero debt. The sweet spot, I believe, for employees is around 3 and 5 on your team. That is like the sweet spot for me. I love hiring women, and my team numbers will always be around 3 and 5. That's the sweet spot for me. I love hiring international and from the Philippines. There are many reasons as why that is, and I feel like I've got to do a separate class on just virtual assistants. It is a massive game changer, especially in the infancy stages of your business, because you need that profit margin to be really juicy and sexy. And only once that is strong and there's a strength and a stability in your foundation, then I look at hiring local talent. Local talent, the Australian labour rates are higher, but only at that point. Obviously, I have subcontractors. Obviously, there's people I call in from time to time. You know, if I'm doing a new photography shoot, well, obviously, the photographer, hair and makeup, they're all local talent. But I'm talking about longer serving employees that are with you. You know, if they're there, like anything like 20 to 30 hours a week. So that it's a really fantastic move for someone starting in business. And for me, it was always my first milestone, because I realized I was a new mum, and the thing that I didn't have was the time and the money, really. And those two things you need to leverage as quickly as you can. It's like just get a run on the board and work out how to leverage your time and money really quickly. And how I found that to be the best case was hiring a virtual assistant. We started on minimal hours, and there's a whole process I teach around that. I see so many women go in and be, I think, unintentionally lazy, but they complain that their virtual assist doesn't know what to do. They didn't do this right. They gave me back this. And I'm like, well, sorry, sister, your leadership sucks then. Your direction and your clear guidance and what you invest in your training is not up to par. We've got work to do. So again, every single thing that I've done in my business, I've personally done that task myself. I've created the Stripe links. I've done the back ends of scheduling calendars. I've uploaded all the Zoom meetings myself. I've done very technical, doing my head in tasks. I've created copy. I've done that. I've changed that. I've sat for hours doing YouTube tutorials to teach me, how do I get that thing to sync and integrate with that software? But that's what leaders do. That's what visionaries do, is that there is no part they would not do for their mission. And when a little obstacle comes up, don't stop there. Take it with enthusiasm. Take it with curiosity. Take it with an honor and a privilege of what a blessing it is to bring your soul's highest mission to the earth, and you would not stop at a simple technical issue. So I think we need to reframe this whole relationship we have with our business. Because behind all of that was always my devotion to the soul's highest mission, always. That was the strongest thread I had, and I knew if I was to get pushed to the edge, that is actually what would carry me through. was the devotion to the mission. Devotion to the mission. No task is too big for me. No task is too small. Can weather any storm if you've got the devotion to the mission. That's why I do the Soul's Highest Mission reading. You can't build the business without it. Because as soon as an obstacle or a challenge comes along, you're going to throw the towel in. I'm like, no, don't do that. That's just a little blip. It's a little challenge. It's there to strengthen you. It's there to encourage you. It's there to make you a more heart-embodied, captivating leader that can actually connect with people. That's what the challenges are there for. And to humble you as well, to beat up your ego along the way, which it always does with mine as well. So I've now got this business that you now see that is growing. It grows in ways that are very private. It's like just when another sister shares, and another sister shares, and another community says something, and then the mother, and then the auntie, and it grows like that. It's really troubling my voice. I'm so sorry. So sorry. Okay. Did the filter go too? That's okay. No, it's gone. So the point I've got to the business now is what I'm growing, because I'd love to share this journey with you. I think you're going to get a lot out of it. For those that are interested in the enterprise, for those that are interested in using their gifts, like using their soul's highest mission, using their gifts to bring forward what it is they want to do and build this beautiful ecosystem around them, actually rewards them, gives them divine riches so you can feed your family, you can pay for your mortgage, you can have a wealth strategy, not just in the business, but when you start making in the business, where are you going to put that money? You have to be a custodian of that wealth. And so now I'm building out this business, and I'd really love to share the journey more with you, because there's so many tips and tricks that I love sharing along my whole entrepreneurial journey of what I've learned, what I really believe works, and what I'm open to learning as well. It's like I don't have all the answers. I'm going to learn along this journey, and I'm happy to share what it is that I learn. But what I know to be true is that my team is going to be around 3 members and 5 members. My profit margins are up at over 78%. I know that, and I'd like to keep it at that level or simply improve on that level. I continue to do the international retreats. I want to work around 20 hours a week, no more. I don't want to be at the laptop the whole time. I want to be with my family freely on the weekends. Yes, I want to travel from time to time, but I do actually like being home. You know, my son has started primary school. I'd like my home a lot. And so I just want to have that beautiful time free, flexibility, and honoring my heart that I am actually bringing my gifts forward. I want to get the sales up to over 2 million a year. The model I'm building out, it has the capacity to do that, still at that 20-hour range and with the team members. There's different levels of how I'm going to do that. There's different products you need to, and different kind of levels of proximity, of coaching. I love doing my Soul's Highest Mission readings. That's not going anywhere. And so there's product sales, and there's also like a membership site as well. So these and all of those things have the beautiful capacity to scale without putting me more hours on Zoom calls, without putting me more hours than what I'm prepared to do. So it's going to be a really exciting journey. I'm actually really looking forward to it. Yeah, so I'm just sharing the news that we're hiring our second team member. She is based in the Philippines, and I'm going to share the process about how I do that. My way of recruitment, I believe, is exceptional. I don't know if any other people hire the way that I hire, but I have a fantastic sense in recruitment. My first virtual assistant I hired, she's been with me for over 3.5 years. The first person I hired, a lot of people go through like 4, 5, even 8 VAs. And people that are really seasoned in business do that. I'm like, you're crazy. Like, what, you're really missing something here. Because it's the energetics. It's the energetics and the frequency and the connection through the heart. And so people get too scared because they're so focused on the money that they forget to bring the heart and balance that. Balance that with a little bit of strategy, a little bit of masculine energetics, and it's like the equation works really well. We need the balance of the two. I cannot stress this enough. It's such a beautiful ride. It's such an honor to share this with you. I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for the women in my community and watching them kick really big goals. And then I'm with you when you're really big struggles. My God, the situations that sometimes come to us from left field that we're not expecting. And I see these women rise to the occasion, and it's hard, but this is the work. This is the work. I can't wait to celebrate so much of this with you and share this beautiful. I know there are women in this community that are now interested a little bit more about the business. And I'm going to talk about the creative. I actually think a lot of us here aren't entrepreneurs. I actually think we're creatives. We're creatives in business. And for me, that's one of the biggest keystones, is because creatives actually go about business in an entirely different model. And I see a lot of creatives get very stuck because they build out and scale what an entrepreneur would do, which is actually very different to how a creative would do business. Hands down, I'm a creative. I know that about me. That's why my business model works, because I'm a creative. I'm not trying to be an entrepreneur. I don't want offices all around the city. I'm a creative. I create, and I will continue to create. And so I found a business model that energetically makes sense for an act. I'm an actor, I'm a performer, I'm a creative, I'm a priestess. I'm a mom. I'm a gypsy traveler. And so there is a certain structure and a container that responds to that archetype. And I think if you just spent a moment with yourself, you'd intuitively feel it, but instead you're listening to just the indoctrination of like sales and marketing out there, which is mostly delivered by men, of how you think your agency should look and how you think that big business should look. I assure you, because of my own knowing and who I am, is that most of the women in this group are actually creatives. Because it is the creative energy that births the new earth. It's not the entrepreneur energy, it's the creative. It's the creative archetype, because it's the Aquarian template. And every golden age and every renaissance has creatives, has performers, have vocalists, have singers. We're actually highly creative women, and I think it's time that we begin to honor that. I love you so much. Thank you for listening to this Friday night business masterclass with me coughing, but it's real, it's raw. This information really does matter. It really does. It will make a huge difference in your journey, knowing that you are actually a creative and honoring that space. So important. Honor that space. It is sacred. And if you can hold on to every single whisper that you hear from that creative space, you will do so well. And yes, you will have clients and you will have people that want to pay you for your genius and your creative and for your energetic healing signature. All right, groovers, have an amazing weekend. I love you so much and I'll be seeing you in here soon.